What's up, guys? I'm Justin. This is my co-host, Steve.
What it do?
And my co-host, Dylan.
Fuck you.
And this is The Elephant in the Room.
Okay.
All right. So what are we talking about today, boys?
Our topic today is how Republicans today more resemble the Democrats in Civil War.
How so?
Yeah.
How so? Okay.
So first, explain the liberals and the conservatives of today.
Okay.
Right.
So today, Republicans today take credit for freeing the slaves in the Civil War because the party names are the same. However, in the early 20th century, the Democrats today more resemble the Republicans then. All right. Let's think of who the Democrats are today. The Democrats today are the people who are advocating for LGBTQ rights, transgender rights, who else? Oh, abortion rights. All right. Does that sound like the Democrats who wanted to keep the slaves
It
with their
sounds like
rights?
the Democrats about 20 years ago, because you had Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton not advocating for LGBT rights.
That was a different time, though.
That's a different
But
time.
that
We're
was-
talking about today's Democrats and
Because-
Republicans. Who take
So
credit
wait,
for
first
it.
you have to address then when the party switch happened.
Well, the party switch happened with the progressive movement with FDR.
FDR, but so the liberals
But when?
in the 30s
Like-
and 40s, liberals were big government intervention. Conservatives were small, hands in the pockets, don't do anything, small government. They didn't
Right.
want to intervene. So are you saying that's different from today?
I'm saying that the Republican Party today has the conservative ideals. All right, let's look. Who's the main Republican today? It's Donald Trump. What is
Yeah.
he doing? He's taking away government intervention in company affairs and putting tariffs on other countries. That way we can have the companies in America.
And
That's
what
conservative.
That's what. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
the
That
Republicans
doesn't seem
did
like
in the
it's
1920s.
changed. Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is more the ideals in the Civil War than the 1920s. I'm saying that's when the party switch happened.
Okay.
All right, but back in the Civil War, you have the Republicans, the Democrats. The Republicans, Abraham Lincoln. The Democrats, who was the president or the nominee? Who was it?
Shit, I don't
Oh,
know.
screw it. No one cares about him. He's out of history.
Yeah,
You didn't
Okay.
get elected.
Abraham Lincoln was advocating for slave rights when he
Right.
started going into office, right?
Right.
But today, that's not who the Republicans are. The Republicans are not advocating for the gay rights. They're not advocating for the pro-choice of abortions. That's not who they are.
Okay, but I don't think you've identified when this switch happened.
I did in FDR in the
Yeah, 30
progressive movement.
But what did FDR do to change that?
Well, FDR was a Democrat, or
He
was a Democrat,
He was a
right?
Democrat.
So he's putting in all these forms and acts to give government more power
Exactly.
over the economy.
But what was it?
And that was the party switch right there with the Democrats and Republicans economically.
But then you had the Executive Order 4022, which completely oppressed the Japanese Americans.
1966.
Well, that's like
Crap.
you can't,
1966.
but you can't use that. That's like wartime. You know,
That's-
that's
so,
way different.
yeah,
You can't look at that.
during war. You guys
During war,
I would
it's totally.
disagree.
That's like during war with Abraham Lincoln, the Emancipation Proclamation. That's what started the talk of slavery. That's
because during Abraham Lincoln went into his presidency as he viewed black people should be slaves. He wasn't a super progressive president until midway through the Civil War,
Right.
and we saw the atrocity. So during war changes, there are different things with war. It's like different things go. It's not.
okay. Either way, though,
Everything-
it doesn't matter because we're not looking at FDR. We're looking at today
But you said
and then. You said when the party switch happened, and that's when I believe the party switch happened.
It's during FDR.
But that's not what the parties are today. The parties over the last, 80 years have changed drastically. And Republicans today are taking credit for what Republicans did 140 years ago, 150 years ago.
I mean, I see how the ideals changed and for liberals and conservatives, but like I said earlier, 20 years ago, liberals today, very prominent in the media, they were not advocating for LGBT rights, and they were also saying that immigration. They had strong ideas on immigration and stuff like that. And what was it? Obama, he enacted the
wall.
the immigration ban.
He did. Obama did. He advocated for the wall.
He also enacted the immigration ban. No, his administration wrote the amendment.
The immigration policy.
Yes, and for refugees. Remember that?
Yes.
And Donald Trump just enacted it. He gets all the crap for that.
Well, that's
So that's
a
a very-
whole different
that's-
thing. But I'm saying, I don't even care about 20 years ago. I believe the party switch happened, and the big party switch happened in FDR's presidency.
During the Great Depression.
But I'm saying today versus now, because today you see Republican accounts posting all the time on Instagram or whatever that they take credit for freeing the slaves, and that's just simply not true.
Well, those are Republican accounts. Those aren't actual Republicans.
I mean, these are people doing a podcast just like us who are still inspiring people today. So
yeah,
I still think that it's propaganda. I don't think they did it.
But so you're saying the Republicans didn't free the slaves, the liberals,
the Democrats today would have been the ones to free slaves, is what I'm saying. Because you just have to look at the parties. What does each party today represent? Republicans today represent they're like the last party with the religious values. All right. The Democrats today don't have that same religion feeling that Republicans do.
Yeah.
And now, but they are more strict on what they believe in. No abortion. They're against gay rights. That's the extreme values of the Republicans. On the other side, that's still the extreme values of the Democrats. They want the gay rights. They want everyone to be in the country, even the illegals.
I don't think
abortion.
that. What?
Yeah, pro-choice abortion.
They want pro-choice.
The Republicans today do not resemble the Republicans back then, who were, at the time, the progressive leaders. The women were always the Republicans because they wanted those rights.
Right.
That was the Republican Party back then, but that's just not the party today. So why are the Republicans today taking credit for what they don't resemble back then?
I don't think it's that the Republicans don't resemble that. I think it's that the left has changed their agenda. And I think that the media portrays it as all this stuff is true, because I don't think that Republicans are against LGBT rights. I mean, when Trump was running for president, he was vocal about his support for the LGBT community.
Trump is he's a Republican, but he's such a outlier in the idea.
But earlier you said that he's
a leading Republican figure today because he's president.
Exactly.
But I still believe he's an outlier. He doesn't uphold
most of the Republican ideals
agenda.
Yeah.
He's more of the economic agenda he upholds.
Then what you guys are saying isn't
well, no, he upholds the Republican economic agenda, but he does not uphold the Republican social agenda.
So then why are you saying that there's the socialist?
Well, because the party switch involved economic change more than liberty change or social change. The party switch with FDR enacted economic change. And then it laid into later social change.
Well, if you're saying Donald Trump is the leading figure for the Republicans, but his social ideas are still the same as the liberals, then I don't understand where the switch is.
No.
The switch is when FDR started making all the policies for the Great Depression. That's the switch. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about today's party versus the Civil War. I'm saying that the Republicans today cannot take credit for what the Republicans did 150 years ago, because they are not the same party.
I disagree.
How so?
Yeah.
Okay, the economic forms which were enacted during FDR, those are very liberal ideas.
Yeah.
He enacted welfare, and welfare is still very much a liberal idea.
Right, but that was 80 years ago.
And yes, FDR did many things to help minorities and stuff, but that doesn't mean that Republicans today disagree with those movements.
The Republicans today, I feel like, totally disagree with those movements.
But
I mean, they're still in place, but they're still liberal ideals. The Liberal Party more aligns with the Democrats' agenda rather than the Republicans' agenda. Republicans' agenda is more aligned with conservatism today.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah.
And
I don't disagree.
You're right, but beforehand, before FDR started putting all these liberalist ideas for the Democratic Party, it was more a Republican status to be implementing these progressive ideas. That's what the Republican Party represented under Lincoln, changing the Constitution with the amendment. Yeah. That's what he represented. But when the Great Depression happened and Herbert Hoover, who was the Republican nominee, was doing the traditional not doing anything.
Because that was kind of like the Gilded Age mentality. That's
right.
That's kind of when that happened, is where it was conservative during the Gilded Age. When they
it was both. It was both Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, they stopped doing anything. They didn't really intervene at all whatsoever. But during the Great Depression that was when the liberals really took their big intervention idea and they started implementing it, where they had big government, where the Republicans, they just kind of sat back. That was with Hoover, where he didn't really do anything. up until FDR was elected.
I mean, really, if you want to align 80 years, all right? So today we have Trump, then we had FDR. Trump is doing totally different things in the last 20 years than any president's done. FDR did a totally different thing than since America had been formed. And they are both wealthy people coming into political office without prior experience. So these two people actually kind of resemble each other, but they're on different sides of the spectrum, defining their own party.
So are you saying that FDR then is like Trump now?
No, I'm saying that FDR then represents kind of the same thing that Trump's doing today. Not the same policies, but he's doing the same. He's the same type of person. He's going away from the traditional norm and changing what his party represents today, or back then and today. So FDR then was going away from the traditional American view of rugged individualism and, you make your life.
FDR was a Democrat, though.
Right, but that's why when we brought in
was a Republican idea.
Yeah, it was Hoover.
Yeah, but that was a traditional idea. Even Democrats before FDR represented that. They didn't go away from it.
So, who was the president following FDR?
It was Harry Truman.
Yeah. Truman.
So, did he follow those same ideas?
We haven't gotten there in inputs yet.
Yeah.
So we could say...
You dropped the nuke.
That's uncharted waters, yeah.
So, we could say that he changed those ideas, but even though he changed those ideas, does that not mean that the Republicans afterward had ideas changed? So that made no sense.
Oh, no, I don't know. We're just talking about economic opinions right now. I'm still trying
I thought we were talking about social.
Everything we're talking about right now is an economic opinion. Government intervention into capitalism.
Yes, I know
right.
this. But I thought you were saying that Democrats of the Civil War and Republicans of the Civil War have switched spots.
Right, and that's when they switched spots.
Socially or economically?
It started economically with FDR, but over the years it switched socially. Because FDR brought the Democratic Party into the big party because everyone loved him and everyone liked what he was doing with the Depression, it made it the big party. And the big party always has and always will be the party giving the people the most rights. It always will be, just because people want more.
Yeah,
the Republicans back then were trying to give the rights for the slaves and for women. The party today is doing the same thing with LGBTQ and
Republicans
abortion.
Back then, they were more advocating for big businesses, big corporations. They were more catered towards them, whereas FDR, when he came in, it was more for the people. That's why he was so likable. He's elected easily. Right.
So I think right then, party switch economically, and over the years, since that's the big party will always be the party that offers the people the most liberties.
So you're saying that when FDR became president, started enacting all the policies, that's when he pretty much defined modern day Democrats economically.
Right.
And then over the years, in the movements that he took, he changed the Democrats socially.
Right. That's what
I agree that FDR changed the Democrats economically, forever, up until modern day.
Yeah.
But I still don't see that he changed. I understand that he changed Democrats socially, but I don't understand how that
that impacts what the Republicans and Democrats in the Civil War.
Denounces the Republicans freeing the slaves, and denounces Republicans modern day being so supportive of social movements. Of course, there's certain things we don't believe in, like abortion, and a lot of Republicans are not pro LGBT. But like you said earlier, Donald Trump, though he's on the far, he's an outlier to the Republican Party, he's still very
a big figure.
Yeah, he's still very Republican, and he has those strong beliefs in. He supports the LGBT community, and not too long ago he was he was pro-abortion, but when it came to running for office, that's when his views changed to cater to the Republican Party. So I don't understand how exactly, just because FDR's social aspect changed the Democrat Party, how it changed the Republicans Party.
All right, let's step away. I have a few more social things that are happening that Trump doesn't agree with and Democrats are, that are more extreme, okay? And the most extreme one today has to be illegal immigration.
Yes.
The Democrats are totally for illegal immigration and allowing people to come over here. Trump
agree.
is totally not, all right? And that is an extreme. Back then, in the Civil War, what was the extreme talk of the day? slavery. It's probably 30% to 40% of the reason why the Civil War even happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is, I would say that those two are more connected than LGBTQ and that, as I see today, we're talking about it, as I see right now. So we need to look at it. Which party is opposing which topic? Republicans today are opposing that illegal immigration. Democrats today are supporting it. Now that's a liberty, and I don't believe in that liberty that Democrats are trying to push for today, and that's what their party represents.
Okay.
Back then, the Republicans were the ones pushing for emancipation, the 13th Amendment. Democrats were against it. So if you want to align the lines, they cross over. Democrats then, Republicans today. Democrats today, Republicans then.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I think that more aligns than
LGBTQ.
LGBTQ.
I can see how I see what you're saying, but I'm just realizing this now. Like, I think parties change their beliefs constantly to cater to the what they think will get the most votes for them.
Right.
Because I've said this like a couple times, but like 20 years ago, Democrats today, like Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Obama, they were very anti-immigration up until it came to when they were trying to be big into the election and get votes. They were anti-immigration. So I think that it really has to do with like catering to the public opinion, what they think most people agree with, or kind of getting them to agree with a certain thing. Because not too long ago, the Democrats today, like less than 20 years ago, they were anti-immigration. So what would you say about that?
Well, I still want to say that which party offers the most liberties? Which party is willing to extend our rights today? And that's the Democrats. They have been for the last 80 years, and they still are. I mean, back then, you say 20 years ago,
right?
The Democrats supported immigration laws prohibiting people coming to the U.S., illegals. But the Republicans also did that, and they did it more. So just as time goes on, liberalism is just not pulling just this party, but also our Republican Party in the same direction. But Democrats are still the more liberal party. And I'm saying back then, even though it was a wide disparity of you either want slaves or don't want slaves, that's pretty wide. There's no in between. The Republican Party then was the one more liberal party than the Democrat Party then.
Okay.
So if you want to look at it, you have more liberal, less liberal, Democrats, Republicans, and then they switch with FDR, Democrats more liberal, Republicans more liberal. And that's why I believe that Republicans today should not be taking credit for anything that happened 150 years ago. Because if they were alive back then, they would have been Democrats, is what I believe.
Okay. That makes sense. But, yeah. No, I don't know.
So the thing is now, do you think that the parties are saying these things for votes? Because welfare, I don't think that they're doing it to actually help people. I think that welfare holds people down.
It's meant to keep people
locked in. And I think that they're so pro-immigration because there's so many people coming into America right now. If they are for these illegal immigrants and for their right to vote, they know that those immigrants will vote for them. So I don't think it's more so that they want to help these people. I think it's that they want this vote. They want to keep the power.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And we see that today. You look at the electoral college maps, all right?
Right.
And especially, I don't think Trump's presidency or Trump's electoral map is a really good representation of Republican support, just because the last election was so diverse. I mean, I know multiple people who said that was the first, like adults, 30 years older than me, said that was the first election they voted in because they thought it was the only one that mattered since they've been alive, right? But if we want to look at which population for each party has, all right, we have both coasts, more the northern coast on the east coast, represent the Democratic Party. I mean, the whole West Coast, I mean, unfortunately we live in California, is Democratic, and it will be Democratic until there's a big change.
Right.
But Republican support is in the South. Now, who was the South in the Civil War? Democrats. People don't move because of their party. They stay where they grew up in. So Democrats back then are the Republicans today. I can't remember.
I see what you mean.
But people will vote for what people they represent. And the Republicans today still represent the South. Because people don't, like I said, move just because of political beliefs.
Right.
They don't uproot their lives and move unless you live in California. And
Unless-
we actually have that problem today. All the Republicans are moving to Texas and to Idaho for...
California's crazy. So
Yeah, I mean, we're outlier. But you'll vote for, or you'll make your policies based on who your voting population is. And the voting population, sadly, for Republicans is the Midwest through, I would have to say, what state? Utah to the north. From Utah, East Coast would be like the tip of Florida, the western tip of Florida. That's Republican, and then you have the South. Right? And then the East Coast would be, or not the East Coast, the Democrats would be everything else. So, yeah. So,
Okay.
Republicans today can't take credit.
So do you think that the Democrats can?
I think the Democrats shouldn't, just because their names don't match up,
See,
and it wouldn't be right. But I think that they are more worthy of the title. I don't think they should ever campaign off of that. That's such a stupid idea. But I think they are more worthy of the title to accept it. I don't think anybody should be campaigning for something that's helped our country immensely.
Yeah.
I mean, both sides have contributed to it greatly.
But I think the parties were just so drastically different back then. It's kind of hard to give anyone a specific...
Because both ideologies were just...
Yeah, it's hard for any party to claim that they emancipated the slaves, because it's not the same party. They were so much different. So it's almost like it's hard to draw a solid line to a single party. So that's why it almost doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Like you said with the voting population, all right?
Yeah.
Every party will vote on what they believe in. And as we see today with the Democrats, they're trying to decrease the voting age to 16. Now, let's look at, our generation, we are definitely an outlier on what we believe in, right? We're educated. But as we want to see, young kids today all mostly represent the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party will do anything for the votes. That's why they're pushing for illegal immigrants to vote. That's why they're trying to decrease the voting age. That's what they do.
Is because they appeal more to the younger and the poorer people. That's why they're trying to push their agendas, because they can get way more votes that way.
Right. And our generation is sadly the generation of social media. Podcasts. They're going to believe anything to listen to if they don't have the right people to listen to. And the news today is a big problem with that, because both sides. Even though I think Fox News is still is getting corrupted slowly, but the news is such a big impact on the young generation, because the young generation is the generation that uses social media the most.
Their minds are so malleable. It's just, it's easier to get so much more information than it ever has been. So it's it's easy to be influenced. That's the thing, and it's crazy.
And if you have 6 news networks that represent a democratic ideology, 6 big news networks, and then you have 1 conservative ideology, there's too much information to one side. And that's why the Democrats today are trying to go for that lower voting age.
Right. See, that's the thing, though. We're talking about how the Democrats are more socially accepted. But I don't think that the Democrats are socially accepted because they care about the people. I think that they're socially accepted because they do what they have to get the votes.
Right.
And I think that's in some ways a kind of I don't want to say a racist ideology, but they're doing it for the race vote.
I think they're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
right? A party should be doing it because they believe it. Right. And that's a big problem today.
So I think that's why they can't align with the old day conservatives, because I think back then the Republicans back then, they were fighting for these things because they believed in it. The Democrats, I think they're fighting for the things today because they're fighting for those things today because they want the vote.
It'll get them the vote, yeah.
Exactly.
But you could argue it both ways. I still think I think we've established that the Republicans are more aligned with the Democrats back then. And though nobody should be taking credit for what happened 150 years ago, because everything has changed.
It's changed. It's so
But
different. Yeah.
it's wrong that the Republicans today, and I'm a Republican, are taking credit for this. And it's really sad that they're taking credit because there are a lot of good things that are happening with the Republican Party today.
Right.
But they'd rather focus on something that is so big that they shouldn't be taking credit for just because they have the same
It's, just
thing.
it's a platform.
It's a
for us.
platform.
So then, what would you say? Do you think that because everyone knows that the Democrats started the KKK, would you say that Democrats should stop taking? They don't take credit for it, but stop.
Taking the blame.
They don't take the blame either. But do you think that Republicans should stop saying that Democrats
Are the ones
started the
behind
KKK since we should stop saying that we didn't end slavery? So do you think both should stop talking about it?
The problem is the KKK is still relevant today. So
Right.
slavery ended 150 years ago, but the KKK is still around today. That's the problem.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's as relevant as the media makes it. It's not like we have people in like KKK
Marching down the street of Washington D.C. like
Exactly.
they did 60 years ago.
Like there's still members of KKK, but they're not relevant. They're in the media because that's what the media wants to. If people of the KKK were supporting the left wingers, it wouldn't be in the media. But since they're supporting Trump, it is in the media. That's why I don't think they're relevant. It's only what the media makes of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Same thing with Nazis. Like Hitler was a democratic socialist. That's a left idea. But since they're supporting Trump, that's in the media today. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like a Nazi stands for National Socialist.
Yeah.
And the party that's advocating for socialism today is the Democratic Party. We're not even going to get into socialism with Cortez. I mean, like,
maybe
it's just,
we will.
we're just hitting it. But socialism will never work in this country, and Donald Trump said that in his what's the name? Address.
Presidential address.
Yeah, the one in earlier this year. What was the name of it?
Inaugural.
State of the Union.
No.
In the State of the Union. In the State of the Union. But
Socialism.
It doesn't, you don't have to be that educated to see the flaws in socialism. It doesn't work.
Go to Canada.
You can look at history and it clearly doesn't work.
Universal healthcare, my ass, bro.
Universal healthcare, that's
There's a reason why people in Canada come to the U.S. for medical treatments.
And there was this not a movement, but there was this it was in the news for a while that Canada was gonna start offering paid healthcare because their socialist healthcare, if you freaking break your wrist, you have to wait in line for as long as someone that has a head cold.
That's so weird.
When it's your time, it's your time. You have to wait. It doesn't matter your condition. I mean, unless it's freaking.
Unless you have to go to the ER or whatever.
But them promoting this paid healthcare, we've had that forever and it works.
it goes with capitalism. It's
exactly.
However, I don't think that it should be required for everyone to have healthcare.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I understand car insurance. I understand that just because you have to have half coverage just in case you hurt someone else.
Yeah.
But healthcare, if you don't see the need for it and if you don't see the want for it, what if you go to work and you sit at an office all day, you come home and you watch TV? Why do you need healthcare?
Because car insurance and stuff like that, that's not only to cover you, but the other person you affect. Where healthcare is just based around you.
Exactly.
And you can't, unless you have some disease that's transferable.
What's his name? Ben Carson?
No, I don't.
Ben the black guy, right?
Yeah, he ran for
Gifted
president in
hands.
2016.
Yeah. He's a neurosurgeon?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
He claimed that Obamacare was the worst thing to happen in America since slavery.
I wouldn't say the worst.
I would say it's bad.
I would say it's bad. I think Obamacare definitely negatively affects more people than it helped. I don't even think it was a step in the right direction. I felt like our healthcare system at the time was already worked well. People complained about not having healthcare, but you should go outside and get a job and get healthcare.
Yeah,
maybe,
but see, it's tough
maybe you would have it.
It's good for the people who need it but they can't afford it. Because I know people who can't afford nice healthcare, but they have decent jobs. Because cancer, the cancer treatments and stuff like that, it gets really expensive, and not all insurance covers it. So almost Obamacare, in a sense, it works in some cases, like welfare. Like welfare, right? Because doesn't that work? Not for everybody, but if you are in a position where you can't support yourself, your family, it works.
I don't even think we should have welfare.
Do you disagree?
So, like, what aspects of welfare do you think, like, work?
Free money.
But then again, it doesn't really help the people. And like I said earlier, like, it ties them down to that party. We're not going to get into that again, but, like, it really ties people down because on welfare, you're getting, like, the absolute bare minimum. You're not getting anything to, like, live, like,
But it's not so much meant for you to live. It's like minimum wage. It's not.
Exactly.
It's not meant for you to stay on. It's supposed to be a stepping stone.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone.
But that's what it's used for now.
But it's
used for the wrong reasons. And I don't think there's enough regulation on welfare, you know. If you're on welfare, there should be people checking in with you. Hey, are you interviewing for a job yet? Hey, are you looking for a job? There should be more
than just giving
regulation
people money
on welfare than just giving people money. You know, you see people on welfare that, you know, drive down the street with a brand new rims with $5,000 rims, but they're also a drug dealer and do welfare.
Phone,
you know,
brand new car, they can't afford to live. That's
exactly. So welfare definitely needs to be, if it's going to be kept, it needs to be worked on.
What do you think the cap on welfare should be?
I feel like today, what welfare is given is good. However, I don't think that welfare is like regulated enough. And I don't think people care enough once they get on welfare to get out in the world and get another job.
They don't, because it's free money.
Right.
You get free money. It's
like, what time cap do you think should be placed on welfare?
I don't know if there should be a time cap, but there should definitely be a checking in process or something that you have to submit to the government, like a paper, like signing, I've applied for these jobs this month, or I have an interview this day. And you shouldn't be able to sit on it without looking for a job, with proof of looking for a job, for a long time. Like, you should have to go into a job interview and have them sign your paper saying, I'm looking for a job. And you should be able to turn that in, and that's where welfare should be coming to play. You know, not both my parents. My mom lived on welfare for a few months, and when she first had me as a child. And my mom today is one of the most successful people I know. Welfare in some situations needed, but it should be only a platform to get back up off the ground, not to stay on.
Not meant to be lived off like minimum wage.
I mean, minimum wage is not meant to be lived on.
It's not meant to be
lived off. It's not meant to be lived off like minimum wage.
No. like how minimum wage isn't meant to be lived off.
Right.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah. So that being said, like a lot of, I'm not going to say all immigrants, but there's a majority of immigrants that are coming into the country and using minimum wage. Do you think...
using minimum wage or welfare?
I mean welfare.
Yeah.
Welfare. So on the immigration discussion...
Who should be able to use it?
Yes.
Okay. I think that I'm going to give credit to my man, J-Man, all right, with this idea of immigration. I can solve immigration in a week.
Okay,
all right, this is
Jay
Laws, man. I agree with him. I think that if you guys don't, you obviously don't know who Jay Laws is, but he is one of the smartest people I've actually had to meet.
Absolutely.
But immigration, you should have to become a citizen, and you can't use any government utilities until 5 years after your citizenship. You should have to have a job and be a citizen for 5 years before you can use any government benefits from programs. I'm not saying rights at all. Everyone should have the rights once you become a citizen. But you shouldn't be able to use our programs for 5 years. And I completely agree with that.
How about this? What do you think about temporarily shutting down the borders?
I think that we have a major immigration problem at the moment.
I think we should.
And I think we need to shut down the borders for maybe not a long time.
No, absolutely.
I think maybe 2 to 3 months. If the government cannot come up with a plan for immigration in 2 to 3 months, why are they there?
Well, I understand.
Honestly.
I understand when you're talking about immigration, but I'm also talking about, like, do you think we should temporarily shut down the borders to help people in America that necessarily can't help themselves? Like, I know not all homeless people want to work, but there's homeless people that need jobs. Do you think we should focus on Americans that need help right now before we focus on people from other countries that need help? I think we should temporarily shut down the borders to help those people that need help.
I have an unpopular opinion about homeless people, you know. I don't really know any homeless people, but natural selection is part of it. If a homeless person really, really wanted a job, they would go out and get it. If anyone wants anything, anyone can get anything.
But it's
Now
I
there are exceptions. I think that veterans who are homeless, who have PTSD or some conditions, are an exception, and I think it's ridiculous that we leave them out on the road. But there are people who are lazy. There's people who fake beg.
Agree.
There's plenty of people in Sacramento who fake beg. They'll
I
go on the streets,
agree.
be wearing, I can tell, $80 shoes with $100 pair of glasses and be begging. I'm like, shouldn't you be selling that and trying to live before you're out here on the road?
And I don't disagree that there's people like that, but like you said about veterans and stuff, and I also believe there's some other people that just do what they can. They can't. Maybe they weren't able to get a certain amount of welfare to help them through that period of time, but do you think we should be focusing on the Americans that need help before we focus on immigrants that need help?
I think America's always first.
Yeah, I think we should be American first.
Isolationism kind of like during the Great Depression, right? Yeah, that was when we didn't.
Yeah.
We just
focused
focused
on
on
ourselves.
America. Yeah.
And that's why I think we should temporarily close the borders.
I don't think we should close the borders for that reason.
Why?
I feel like we have the tools to do it with our other problems. I feel like the population that needs help is very minuscule to what people think, or minuscule. Because most of the homeless population, I believe, just don't care. I mean, I know
It's
of
tough
people who like
it's tough to
being
get a
homeless.
job when you're in a situation like, because it's hard to present yourself as a person that
It's
the
worthy
employer would want to have in their store in their business to.
You have to shower. Get new
Yeah,
clothes,
if you don't have a home, like how are you going to do
resume.
that?
Well,
you have to.
A lot of places you have to have a proof of residency to get a job.
Well, yeah, but you had to have a home at one point.
Right.
So what were you doing when you were losing your house?
Drugs.
You got laid off.
Drugs. Well, personal problem.
But
Laid off.
Oh, laid off? No.
Yeah.
But the people who are getting laid off are the people on welfare today. People who got laid off are
Well, if you get laid
acceptable to welfare. The people who are homeless are the people who were doing nothing, they lost their house, and now they're on the street.
Well, when you get laid off, you get severance checks for, most people. You get severance checks for a certain amount of time, and then after that stops, you haven't found a job, then you may not be, I don't know what the word is, you may not have the,
capability.
yeah, I guess, to apply for,
If you are a person, if you're a person in today's economy that can't find a job, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
As
kind
a
of agree with that.
16-year-old, as a 16-year-old, was able to go into one place and get a job.
But see, I'd rather hire a 16-year-old than some homeless guy with a scruffy beard.
Yeah, but
scary
I'm saying that you should have found a job
Needles.
before then. You should have had
Okay.
to
Who says
found
that?
a job before you lost
Well,
your
here's-
house. So what were you doing when you lost
Did
your
you
house?
get a job that's on, that's paying minimum wage, though?
Well, yeah, it would have been minimum wage, but it's
Yeah.
still enough to
They're
live
looking,
on.
They're looking for jobs that they can continue to pay for their house, can continue to pay for maybe their family. So they're not going to go look for a job that has minimum wage. They're going to go look for jobs like, I don't know, like a bank or something. Or like,
It's a personal problem.
Not all homeless people.
You need to downsize. If you're losing that, you need to learn to downsize and manage your money. If you can't afford that anymore, why are you trying to afford that?
I'm not saying that
You need to cut your losses and go down.
I'm not saying
Say
that
goodbye
you
to the
can't
family.
I'm not saying that
Cut
you
the
can't
house.
afford something. I'm saying that you still have these needs
to
that
pay.
you need to apply for. You still have your family, so you're not going to look for a job that can pay you the bare minimum. You're going to look for a job that can help you where you're at now. And of course, you may have to downsize your house, but you're still going to try and find things that will help you the most. So you're not going to go to the lowest offers first. You're going to start with the highest and then work your way down. And by the time you maybe stop getting those severance checks or stop getting, not stop getting welfare, or you haven't applied for welfare, you've already lost your opportunity. Time's run out to get that, and maybe that's how. I don't believe all homeless people have done it. Of course, a lot of them.
But
I don't believe any homeless people are in that boat, really.
Yeah, because
Whole families like that.
Families,
Well,
if
A
you're
person would
homeless-
have a job at minimum wage before they are homeless.
Because if you have a companion, a wife, a husband, it's harder to be homeless because you have another
Them working
form.
as well.
You have another form of income, so you not contributing isn't so harsh as if you're just by yourself. Because then you have to take care of more people. But when you have another form of income, it's easier, I would say, to go look for specific jobs. Where if you're just completely homeless by yourself, I think minimum wage jobs should be easy to find. It should be
Right.
Yeah, so if they're looking for those, like you said, the higher jobs, right? let's just say they don't get it. They're still going to go back and get that minimum wage job before they're homeless. So the homeless people today are just not wanting to
Drug
get
addicts.
those and go back. And they're generally, in
mentally
that population.
unstable.
There are like exceptions, like veterans and stuff like that I believe should be getting the help. But I don't believe it's anywhere near the amount of people believe, or the amount of people that we need to help that people believe in today.
Well, I still believe that there's tons of homeless people on drugs and stuff. But I'm saying, do you think that we should temporarily close the borders so we can help those people that aren't on drugs, those people that haven't been able to pull themselves out? What do you think we should do to help those people before we help others?
Should we fix America, just overall the social aspects, the economy before we go?
I think the economy's booming right now, for one. And
Aren't
for
we
two,
in
I feel
debt
like I said, the problem's not as big
Yeah,
as
we're still
people
the
think.
richest nation.
The problem's not as big as people think, so we shouldn't be taking any drastic action to fix it. I mean, we should be trying to fix it, but I don't think we need to go that far to fix it.
Well, then we have illegal immigrants coming in, taking jobs in the field, and thank goodness for them, working like that. But do you think we should be offering those jobs to the people that are willing to work, willing to maybe move to these places and get paid for that before we offer them to people coming in? And I know not all people. There's tons of homeless people that are just fine where they are. They don't want to work at all. But there are still homeless people willing to do what they can to get some money. And yes, they could apply for minimum wage jobs. Maybe they haven't had a resume and they can go apply for these jobs in fields and stuff like that. Do you think we should be offering those jobs to people that in America that are American citizens that may need those jobs before we offer them to immigrants?
But the thing is, it's big businesses look for these immigrants because they're extremely cheaper than the average American citizen. Because a Mexican immigrant could probably work for 10 cents an hour, where back home they were working for 10 cents a month. So obviously they're going to take that. Hey, bro, can happen.
No, it was not that. It's not that little.
Okay,
it's not that little.
That's besides the point.
Not that
That's
little.
besides the point. But I'm
And
saying,
it's not hourly.
but I'm saying,
Yeah.
Washington Farland
Yeah.
Park
McFarland.
yeah, no, but that's besides the point. It kind of goes with capitalism. You want to find the person who is willing to take the lowest paycheck. That's why it's not so much. It's big businesses.
Exactly.
We shouldn't have to require a business to find certain type of workers to do their job. Whole point of capitalists is letting companies do what they want. So as soon as the government starts to intervene on those populations, the biggest one being agriculture, and telling them that they need to use these homeless people who have never worked in a field before, who are stereotypically but instead of having these illegal immigrants who are very skilled by that time of doing this work, and they're used to it, and they want these jobs.
Good point.
So I don't think we can regulate these companies to have to use a certain population to do the job.
All right.
It's because that population needs it. Cool.
I respect that. I agree with that. That's a good point.
Man, from Civil War to homeless people. All right. So, all right. I think after homeless people, I think the talk is minimum wage. Minimum wage in California today is $11 for businesses with less than 15 people, and is $12 for businesses with more than 15 people. Okay. So I believe that that's too high. And I think we see that with what happened in Seattle. Minimum wage went up to, I think it was $20 an hour or something like that.
Shit, I should move
Jeez,
to
It was something like that,
Seattle.
and the inflation happened dramatically just on a city level. And I think it's ridiculous that people like Bernie Sanders want a federal, not a state, a federal minimum wage of $15 an hour. That's just utterly ridiculous, and I don't think he realizes what it's going to do.
Crazy old socialist.
The thing about that is, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that we should regulate minimum wage at all, because I think that's why we have unions and stuff like that. If a company is going to pay people a certain wage, it's the company that should decide that, and if the people don't want to work for that, they're not going to work for that. I think capitalism should be based around
laissez-faire.
Exactly. And yes, I know that in history and stuff, we see tons of unions being formed and stuff like that. But with those unions being formed, the government intervened, and I don't think they let the system run long enough to see what would happen if they just left the people to what the people
But
are doing.
if you just let the businesses do their own thing, they start abusing the people.
I still think there should be regulations within the business, but I don't think that money should be regulated.
I think what we should do, I like the idea, but I think what we should look at is what are the minimum wage of every single state right now? And then you need to compare cost of living and see what would happen if we made a federal minimum wage lower or higher. Because the federal minimum wage right now is like what, $7.50 or something like that?
I don't think there should be a federal. I think it should be state by state because different states have different.
Well, if you have state by state, you're going to see what California is doing right now with a $12 minimum wage. People are leaving here with the money they make and going to live in Texas and raising the house prices of Texas and raising the house prices in Idaho.
Because to live in like New York than it is to like live in Ohio or wherever, Kansas.
Right.
Whatever.
So I think a federal minimum wage is actually kind of ridiculous. It should be left at states. I agree with that opinion. It should be left at the state level. But at a time where state levels are going to the 15s to 20s,
right,
federal government needs to look at that and be like, hey guys, you need to look at the consequences that's going to have with inflation. Because, I mean, gas here, we live on the West Coast where all the gas comes from the Middle East, and it is 2 to 3 times more expensive than the gas in Nevada. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
that goes into other problems, paying $70 billion for a train. But
to freaking, what is it, like Fresno to...
No, it's Sacramento to
Stockton.
Stockton.
It's Stockton to Fresno, I think.
Is it Stockton to Fresno?
Yeah,
I thought it was
who wants
Sacramento.
to go to those two places on a high-speed train?
Well, no. I don't understand why we're starting there. That's the start point. It's supposed to end in
Well,
LA.
the thing is,
That's where the end point
I
is.
think it's, what's his name?
Governor, was it
Brown's.
Brown?
It's
before
Brown's, like, Newsom? No, I think it's Brown's.
Brown's house is in Stockton. Do you know that?
No.
Or not Stockton, it's in Fresno, I think. It's one of those
Well,
two.
it's his kind of like his like dream project, but it's like we don't have the allowed like money for that project, so it's hardly even started, but it hasn't been finished.
Well, it's $70 million a mile.
Exactly.
A mile to build it.
Oh shit!
All right, and you know how they're paying for that, right?
Tax dollars.
It's
Yeah.
gas tax
Gas
dollars.
tax.
They put 2 gas tax out. They put one
Aren't they
out
like-
a couple of years ago, and they put one out in January.
Recently, yeah.
Aren't they gonna start cutting like state pensions and stuff so they start?
Right, they're taking money out of Medi-Cal or
Yeah,
what
like,
is it?
health insurance and stuff, like because.
And Social Security. Government's starting to do that with paying for government programs. But $70 billion, if you want to put that in perspective, the wall is going to cost about 12 or something like that,
Yeah.
or 14. That's like a sixth or a fifth of the cost of this train. So
And-
why are we building this
Just have
train?
Elon Musk
And-
do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's already doing it with his own
in
money.
In LA, I think he's doing like
Underground where you can
underground
get,
tunnels and
yeah, with like
freeways.
250 miles an hour.
And he's just like drilling holes in LA, and he's just doing it's
Exactly.
because he's an alien. he's not a human. He's like a cyborg or
Dude.
something. But that's
But-
besides the point.
I feel like with the wall, paying for the wall, why is it such a federal responsibility? It should also be passed down to the states. The states, if California is willing to waste $70 billion on a train, come on.
But that's see, I don't know, because I think the whole argument against the wall is kind of unethical because you're building a legit wall to prevent the immigrants from South America. It's just
Well, I think Dylan quoted Trump on this, but Trump said we don't build the wall to. You hate the people who are on the outside. We build it to protect
I
people
quoted
who are on
it
the inside.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
protect the
but-
people on
yeah.
the inside. Yeah,
I think he's building the wall not because he hates the people on the outside. He's doing it because he loves Americans. He loves the American people. He wants to protect them. He wants to protect their jobs. He wants to protect America overall. So that's why. I mean, and I don't think the wall. Like people are always like, oh, the wall's racist. Like there's nothing racist about the wall because it's stopping illegal immigrants. Like
It's not citizens. It's not people who are legal.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
Yeah, they
Why-
shouldn't. Yeah, because they're taking advantage of the system and pushing aside the people who came here illegally, which isn't fair. Because the immigration system, it takes so long to get. You have to get on the green card, and then you have to apply for citizenship. And it's like
Exactly.
it's
And
super tough.
I do think that to become an American citizen, I think that process should be changed because it does take way too long for people that want to be citizens to be citizens. But I also think that if you're going to come to America, you should do it the right way because there's tons of people that have done it the right way. And that's just like cutting in line. It's just cheating, and I don't think that's right.
Even though cutting in line is okay, I like cutting in line.
Well, you like it, but I mean, it's still the wrong thing to do.
It's okay if you know somebody who's farther up in line, but
okay.
Maybe a little too literal.
I mean, in a literal line, yes.
But
in the sense of immigration, no, because it's not fair to the people who've been waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the wall is racist at all. Like, do you guys think it's racist?
No, it's not.
Like,
it's a wall.
There's a clip of like Donald
That's
Trump.
so
Like he's being interviewed. He's like, oh, Donald, you shouldn't talk about the wall. It's a bit controversial. Oh wait, no, crap. He's like, oh, you should talk about illegal immigration. It's a bit controversial. He's like, why? It's illegal.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
But like I said, the Democratic Party today are going for that the voting population for the illegal immigrants.
Exactly, and they're not going for them.
For the
Like I said earlier, they're not going for them because they care about them. They're going about them because they know that if they're for those people will keep them in office.
Because they appeal to those people the most. So
Exactly.
the most votes. Yeah.
Well, I think the only way they appeal to them is because the Democrats realize, okay, this is going to continue to go on. We might as well be okay with it. And if we're okay with it, we're going to get their votes. They're not doing it because they, like I said, they don't care about them. They're doing it because they want the vote. I'm repeating myself because they want to stay in office.
Yeah. No,
And I think that's like racist. Like you're doing it to those
to
people.
use them.
Yeah, you're not doing it because you care about them. You're not trying to help those people.
That's just politics, man.
Like
It's the political machine.
That's just how it works.
Exactly. Like welfare, they're not like a majority of black people are on welfare. Welfare doesn't exist to help people, and yes, it does help people out of certain situations. But welfare, most of the time, it holds people down to the political party, and you see that like right when it's created in the 1920s by FDR. It was created to help during the Great Depression, but it also tied them to that the Democratic Party.
That's how the mafia works.
All right. I think we're good to end it here.
Yeah. My mom's calling. All right.
All right.
Okay.
This has been The Elephant in the Room, episode 1, and we'll see you guys later.
I'm on.